Welcome to Here Where You Belong, your go-to podcast for exploring belonging with your host and belonging expert, Dia Irby. We are thrilled to have you join us. Together, we'll dive into the depths of what it means for each of us to find our own place in the world, whether it's within our communities, our relationships, or within ourselves. Today's episode is meant to inspire, uplift, and remind you that no matter where you are or where you're headed, you have a place where you truly belong. So, grab a cozy spot and settle in. Welcome to Here Where You Belong.
Hello, awesome belongers. Welcome home to Here Where You Belong podcast. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to someone whose message is so aligned. There's no question that they found their place here to share their stories. I'm Dia, your host. Our guest today comes to us from Paris. Get ready to be inspired and blessed. Let's welcome Gabriel Kaam. Hey, Gabriel.
Hey, Dia. Thanks for having me.
Here's a bit more about our guest. Gabriel is a French entrepreneur living in Paris. Ooh, he has a background in tech development. After working as an IT consultant for Accenture, he dropped everything and started his own agency. Now, he is the CEO and co-founder of the award-winning KNR Agency. It's a digital agency specializing in e-commerce for exceptional brands. Since 2016, Gabriel's been working with the biggest fashion, beauty, and luxury brands to help them grow on e-commerce. Some of his notable clients are LVMH, L'Oreal, and Givenchy. What? Okay, welcome, Gabriel.
Thank you for having me, Thea. Hey.
Did I leave out anything, or do you need to correct anything?
No, everything is good. Yeah, everything
It's
is perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as you know, this podcast is about belonging. And I'd like to ask you to share your belonging story or stories in whatever way. Take it away. The mic is yours.
Wow. My belonging stories. I mean, I don't know. I feel like belonging is such a strong word, because it relates to how we feel and how we feel towards, with our environment, people around us. So that's really important. Like my whole life, I've been, since I was a kid, I was like a tech guy, like a geek, like the kind of guy in the back end of class working with his computer and really like in his own world. So I didn't really feel and think about belonging that much when I was a kid. And then, it started to really, affect me when I started to leave my own town, move into like a bigger city like Paris and discover, like a whole new world when you don't really know if you have your place in this world. So it's really, how do you say, like stressful, I guess, a little bit intimidating when you go to like a new place and you feel like everybody has their role, everybody has their friend, everybody knows who they are, and you feel lost in this new world. And that's basically how I started like my life, when I moved to Paris. And I know that for me, what helped me a lot was coming back to my first passions, computers. When I started to work in Paris, I really didn't feel like a Parisian. I don't even know if I felt French, But since I was able to get a first job, in IT, for like actually like a fashion brand, which is like a little bit of foreshadowing to my agency later on, that kind of like helped me feel like I belonged in a small group within like a bigger group. And that gave me like a lot of confidence to feel like I was myself, feel like I could have like a place and a purpose, and I can feel accepted. And then of course I had the chance to meet, wonderful people who, like offer, like open me doors, welcome me with open arms. And that took a while. But, after like a few years, I felt like I belonged, like in a place like Paris, when it's really hard sometimes to feel at home in this environment, especially if you're not from here, if you don't look like, the rest of the other people. But I kind of felt like I did that, so that was great. So I guess that's my belonging story.
Where did you come from to go to Paris?
So I'm from a really small town in France, near Bordeaux. It's a city called Niort. It's very small, like not a lot of people know this city. if they know this city, it's because they probably drove through it to go to La Rochelle, or maybe because their parents work in insurance, because this city, I don't know why, it's the insurance capital of France. So all of the big insurance, they all have their headquarters in New York. So every time I say I'm from New York, people are like, New York, like New York? I'm like, no, no, New York. And they're like, oh yeah, maybe the insurance city or whatever. So it's like a really small town. Yeah.
So you didn't go into insurance. Where did you
No.
get your passion for, or how did you learn your IT? Was it just like, was it through school, or did you know someone that mentored you in it? What got you into the IT world?
I think ever since I was a kid, I had a dad who, well, I have a dad, who was an accountant. So he had a computer at home, and I was bored, and I wanted to just start playing games. And I think at this time we didn't really have internet, so you cannot really browse around. So I was just trying to, discover stuff on the computer, and I was just looking around, and I found it interesting. I kind of understood a little bit how the computer worked, and that was kind of like half game for me, half discovery and curiosity. A lot of time I will come back from school, and like not do my homework but just go on the computer. And and I think one day, actually, my bigger sister, she learned a little bit HTML at school. That's like the language that you use to create websites. And she just told me about this like that, and I was like, "Make website? What is that?" And she showed me like a few things, to do on the computers, and that's it. I was hooked. I was making my own website when I was like 9 or 10, I think, and I never really, you know, uh, I never really left this ever since. So that's been my passion for the longest time.
Well, it sounds like you found your gift, where you're gifted and what you're meant to do and be, because
Yeah.
I can hear the passion for it in your voice, and the fact that you were able to, that analytical mind from your dad probably was
Yeah.
passed along.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And why Paris? Except for it's awesome.
Well, it's awesome for sure. And I mean, when you come from like a small town, so when you come from like a small town like New York, and if you like, my dad was always very strict about education. I have like 3 sisters, so it's like we like 4 children in a family. And my dad was always about, you need to go to study, you need to go to university, you don't stop until you have at least 3 years after what we call the baccalaureate, which is like the A level, I guess, in the US, or the SAT maybe.
Mhm.
So there was never a question in our education, in our upbringing. It's like you go to school and you study and then you go to work. Um, and for me, Paris was the best city to do computing, because I found like a few schools over there that were really great. They had like really great IT and computer program. And so that's why I basically applied to go to Paris. There was not a lot of other options in other cities, and Paris was just the best, the best next chapter for my life. It's so big, so grand, so different. Again, I was still looking for myself. So if I could be like in a place where everything is possible, it gave me more chance to discover who I really was. And I think that's what drawn me in the first place to a city like Paris.
Well, who wouldn't go? I
Yeah.
mean, yes, uh, all the all the good things, and uh, the movies, everything, whatever. It's Paris. It's like, woo, a dream for everyone to go
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
How long did it take you to feel like you were a Parisian? Actually, you mentioned that you didn't feel like you were at first. And
Yeah.
how did you make that transition to feel like, okay, now I feel like I belong here?
Yeah. Well, Paris is such a strange city. I feel like there's many reaction you can have if you come and you move to Paris. You either love it or you either hate it. There's no in between. And I don't exactly know why, but I really do believe there's two different type of people. Some people come to Paris and they just cannot make it. They just cannot love it. They just cannot, and they leave because it's not them. Or there's like others, I guess, a little bit more like me, who find in Paris like a challenge that kind of like motivates you, you know, that's because I have like a curious mind as well. So that was interesting to discover that. And it's hard, you know, in the beginning, a lot of struggle, a lot of time when you're like, oh my God, what am I doing here? But to answer your question, I think maybe after 4 or 5 years, I will say that I thought that I was a Parisian. But before that, you can say it, but you don't, you don't really, you know. Yeah.
Right. So I know this isn't a travel podcast, but tell us about what is the place if someone visits Paris that they should go to, and maybe tell us about the food, your favorite food you've
Oh,
had
wow.
there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, how much time do we have? No, you know, so I think one thing that I want people to know if they ever came to Paris, and maybe if they're like in their young teenage year, is that Paris, compared to a lot of other European capital, is not what I would consider like a party city. You don't really come to Paris to party. It's really hard to come to Paris as a tourist for like a couple of days and really find great party and excitement during the nighttime to live like as a Parisian. It's more a city that you come for leisure, visiting, enjoying the food, going to the museum, right? If you compare to like a city like, you know, like Barcelona or Madrid, you can go and have a lot of fun. Parisian tends to stay together, and you really have to be in Paris to know the right spots, you know, to go to if you really want to have a good time. And sometimes it's the same with the food. Sometimes, you know, the best restaurant are not the one that you find like on Yelp or Google Restaurant. You know, you really want to try them. But if someone is coming to Paris and, you know, they want to have like nice foods, they should go to the Marais. It's like a district. It's like a neighborhood in the center of Paris, and you can find like a lot of small restaurants. Right? It's not like a Michelin star or everything, but they're really good, and you have great food, great ambience, a great experience. If you can pass through the rudeness of the French waiter, of course. You know.
Yes, I did spend 24 hours, or I don't even know if it was 24 hours in Paris one time. And we didn't even go up the Eiffel Tower. It was really
Yeah,
cloudy and it wasn't going to be, you couldn't see anything if you went up there anyway. So we
yeah,
just did other things.
yeah.
But it's fascinating, and the art, and just it's its own place.
Yeah.
And so do you have an opportunity to help other people feel like they belong? I mean, have you met people that come there that you have helped them transition into feeling like they belong in Paris?
Mm, I mean, oh well, I guess yeah. Maybe I have one example. So that was, yeah, maybe the first time that I actually had the opportunity to, I guess, make or help someone feel like they belong in Paris. That was maybe like maybe 6 years ago actually. So I was running the agency, and we had this beautiful loft apartment in the 16th street of Paris. It's like on the west, and I was running the company with my team over there. So at this time, I had a team of maybe 10 people. So that was my business partner, me, and like a team of 7 to 8 people. And we were looking for a new intern to do web development. And I remember this girl, Christina, what's her name? She was from Germany, and she applied to our agency to become like an intern. And I loved her because she was so passionate, right? She wrote us this email about how she loved uh, web development, how she loved making websites. She had this really weird passion for like toilet paper. She even had a blog about toilet paper, and she will categorize the different pattern, the different type of paper. I thought it was amazing. I was like, we need to see her. And so we invite her to our office. She comes, and she's really stressed. I can see that she's really, really stressed. Um, and I think for many reasons, right? Our agency work with a lot of big brands. So for people, sometimes they come to us, they can feel a bit intimidating. So knowing that, I try to have a more like human approach, and I try to not de-escalate the situation, but try to make it feel at ease. Um, uh, just so I can get the best, out of people. But also she has trouble speaking French. I think she just arrived from Germany. She was just there because her boyfriend moved there or something. Fortunately, yeah, I could speak English and a little bit of German, so that was fun. But I remember like she was really stressed, and so I gave her like we talked for like a half an hour. I gave her a task so she can demonstrate her skills, and I remember she was so stressed, but she was so good at it. But because she was stressed and because she didn't feel like she belonged, because she was like, my God, this agency, they work with the biggest brands. Like, who am I with my toilet paper blog? They're like in Paris, French. Who am I because I'm speaking like German and English? And she was so stressed. But the thing is, she was actually so good. Like, I think I just went through 20 interviews before her, and she was one of the best. But she was so stressed that she almost disqualified herself. And I remember that I realized that, and I took a little bit of time to let her know that she had no reason to be stressed, that she's actually really good, and she should embrace that, and that you know, if she can, deal with her, I guess, internal, turmoil that she was going through, I'll be more than happy, to offer her like an internship. And I remember like she was so happy, she was so, relieved. She was able then to finish the task that I gave her, because I think she was just frozen with the stress. She actually did really good. And I think to this day, because we went up to work together for like 6 months, and I do believe she's still living in Paris or not, because I think she loved it so much. She actually found like a job then in Paris, and she's living there now. We were connected like a few months after her internship. But it was funny to me to, I hope, help her to feel a bit like, first of all, like she deserved, her place in my team, because she was actually really good. And I do love that. I do love to see people who are passionate about what they do and who do it well. I really, I like people who take pride in doing like in, how do you say, in trying to reach excellence, in the work that they do. And
Right.
so I don't know, I feel like, again, our values, where we had these shared values about computers, about blogs, and about weird stuff like toilet paper. I'm a big like anime manga fan, so I have my fair share of weird, thing that I'm passionate about. But yeah, it was interesting. And to this day, I think so we don't take intern anymore right now. We don't really have the time to do that. But to this day, I think she's still one of the best intern that we had. We had like uh, a lot of great time together. I remember one time at Christmas, she really wanted us to have like a Christmas tree in the office. So I bought like this, I don't know, like 3 meters like Christmas tree that she decorated it with some of her from the team. So that was good for me, like, because when you build a team, when you build a business, and when you start to have a team, I always say that my goal, and my only goal, to be fair, is to create the environments when they can all feel, I guess, like they belong.
Exactly.
Because I know that that's going to help them feel at ease, feel more, work better, be more happy. And that's just, I mean, that's my work. That's my job, right? To create this environment when people can feel like they belong. So I'm happy to think that I was able to do that, at least for her.
Absolutely. Well, I always say belonging boosts the bottom line,
Yeah, it does.
because just like you told in the story, and you actually acted out, or performed, or did what it took to help her feel like she belonged, she was able to perform or do her job to the best of her ability.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in the workplace. And that's how, I'm sure, if that is your approach, that is how you are an award-winning agency with multiple people that you work with. And why, if the people working there are happy to work there, then the product that you provide for your clients that's going to show in the
Yeah.
product. Right.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
So, the takeaway advice from this story would be, to anyone who owns their own business, would be, how would you say that?
Well, uh, your job as a business owner, as a team leader, is to, make sure that your team feel like they belong. Because if they do, they're going to be able to work better. It's going to be like a big environment. Everybody is happy. It's like a win-win-win situation.
Absolutely. Oh, this is so good. And it's so fun to have you here, and especially listen to your accent. And But we're going to take a quick little break and be right back with Gabriel Kaam in just a minute. Be right back. Hey there! Isn't my guest amazing? So glad you joined us today. In this world that often feels disconnected, building community and fostering belonging are essential. That's why I created this podcast, to bring inspiring people to you, to encourage you to create that sense of belonging and community, no matter where you are. If you're being blessed by my guest, and we have some more, like, subscribe, and share this podcast. You know who needs to hear this. Stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember, you belong. Now, back to our amazing guest. And we are back with my fabulous guest today, Gabriel Kaam. And on the second half of our podcast, I like to ask my guests 3 questions. And the first question is, what do you consider is your greatest accomplishment? There's so many, but what do you consider your greatest accomplishment?
I mean, I guess like the accomplishment that I'm most proud of is, over the past 8 years, being able to create this, this wonderful company with my business partner. Having this team that we are grown to now 25 plus member, all around the world, and being able to work with some of the biggest brands, in this world in terms of fashion, beauty, and luxury. And, still after 8 years, still being able to have fun while doing it, supporting the team, helping our clients, creating this environment. I'm really, really proud of that, because when we started, that wasn't like it wasn't like it is today. So we come a long way before we could get to this point.
Well, did you believe that when you started that you would be where you are 8 years later?
So I think the reality is that I didn't really ask myself this question. so I don't know. I never really stopped to think about that. When we started the agency, it kind of like started not as a joke, but it was like a random start. We didn't really like set up like, okay, we're gonna start an agency. It kind of like happened organically. That was Antoine and I working as freelancer and working together, and we're like, maybe we should start an agency. It's gonna be easier to invoice our clients. It's kind of like started like this, and then we started to work, get more clients, get more referral, and it grew to the point that we are today. So in the early years, we never really stopped to think about, oh my God, what are we doing? This is crazy, That happened a little bit later, when you start to have the first one. It's like, wait, what am I doing? How do I expect to compete again out of these people, out of these big agencies, all this money, all these brands? Like, how am I not delusional, right? So yeah, I think not thinking was probably the reason why we are here today. Yeah.
Well, yes. What you did was what was in you to do.
Mhm.
That was your gifting, and you were passionate about it, and you just did the next thing, the
Yeah.
next thing that was there to do. And oh, well, now we should do this. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you as an 8 or 9-year-old discovering computers, and what's the next thing you can learn about a computer.
Yeah.
So, and your agency is KNR Agency. I'm
Yep.
guessing the K is for Kaam,
Yeah, it is.
and the N is for
N is end. Yeah.
and the R.
R is Roffler. It's the last name of my business partner.
KNR.
Yeah.
Sounds good. KNR Agency.
Yeah. When we started, the name was our full name, like spelled out. So Kaam and Roffler, which I think looks good too, and it sounds good. But when you're on the phone and they ask you like who you're calling from, you're like, okay, Kaam and Roffler, and they're like, Kaam and what? How do you spell that? Like even my name, like Kaam, that's already hard. For French people, like the end, they're like, what end? And then Hoffler, they already gave up at this point. So we're like, okay, let's let's make it easier on everybody. KNR. We still have people writing like a L instead of an N, so I need to really like emphasize the end, But yeah, I like the name. It's good. It's a good name.
KNR
Yeah.
Agency. Oh,
Yeah.
it sounds high class, actually. It sounds important because it's just the initials,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's good. And of course, you have worked with multiple clients. How did you get your first client, and how, maybe who is the most, well, you've got some, I don't know, they may not hear this, but who's your most impressive client?
Well,
Maybe we should say more than one, so nobody
yeah,
feels
yeah.
left out.
So they don't. Hopefully, they don't watch this.
They
No,
all
I mean, yeah, they're all important. Yes, of course. But we have a few special. Um, the the first client of the agency is a fashion brand called The Couples. And the reason why they are the first is because we actually had them as a client before we even started the agency. Okay, let me explain. Earlier I talked about how I was an intern in Paris. Well,
Mhm.
I applied for this brand. Now, the thing is, this brand, they didn't really have an internship offering. They actually had like a full position. But again, because I didn't really think and because I was sure of myself, I applied, as a full-time engineer, even though I was just looking for like an internship. But again, the thing is, because I was so passionate about computing, um, I was at this point, I was in engineering school for maybe 3 years. And all my peers, they will have been computing for maybe 2 or 3 years, right? So they go internship and they have 2 years of experience. Well, I've been doing computing for my whole life. So actually I had, in my mind, I had 10 years experience. So it didn't feel weird to apply for a job that require 5 years experience. I'm like, I'm overqualified for that. I mean, I'm joking, of course, but what I mean is that, yeah, because I was in the world that I felt confident. I knew my value as a developer. I was sure that I could provide value for this company, even though they were looking for somebody with a degree already, 5 years experience. I came here still a student. I don't know how I passed. I mean, I think I know actually why they accepted me. Because okay, this brand was really very hot at this time. They were like the Jacquemus back in the day, right? Like they were on every buses. Everybody knew about the couples. I didn't because I didn't know about fashion at this time. So I just apply again.
You weren't intimidated by the big
No,
names.
I
You
wasn't.
didn't
No,
know they were so hot.
exactly, right? I don't think I would have
But
applied,
you
what
knew
like a
you
Louis
were
Vuitton.
hot, so
Yeah.
they deserved you.
Exactly. And then I show up, and they ask me to go to Place Vendôme when they have the office. I'm like, oh, Place Vendôme, okay. I didn't know what Place Vendôme was. Some people might know, but I didn't. So I show up with like a cheap suit, like bigger than me, and I see like this whole building, and I'm like, oh my god, I see all the Cartier, the Dior, and everything around. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm in the wrong place. But I go, and I'm a little bit stressed, of course. But then when it comes to talking about the job and the technical, I'm in my element, right? Computer stuff, I got you. So I actually do well in the interview. They offer me like the position. And that's how I started to work with them. And that was an internship. So that was only for like a few months. But within this months, um, I actually got to connect with one of the co-founder of the brand. So Raphael Elisha is like one of the three brothers. I got to connect with the director of e-commerce. She was my manager's manager. Um, and basically, because I was so passionate about my job, I didn't look at the time. I didn't look at the hours. I was so happy to do tasks, and I would do tasks even though they didn't ask me for tasks. So I ended up doing way more than I was supposed to do. And by the end of my internship, they were like, "Oh wait, if Gabriel leaves, like, what are we gonna do for all the things that he's doing right now?" So they offered me a job, full-time position, and I said no because my dad told me you need to go to school and
Have
you
to
need to have
finish
3 years.
school.
Yeah, and I was only 2 years after my diploma, so I knew that my dad would be really not happy with me if I were to leave school. So I told them no. But then on the last day of my internship, I was I had this idea. I was like, maybe I can ask them to keep me as a freelancer. And for me, that was such a big ask. I was like, oh my god, they're never gonna say yes. They have like tons of people, and I'm like, Gabriel, if you don't ask, you never know. And I remember I was so stressed on the last day. I was trying to find the perfect time that I can ask my manager for her time without everyone in realizing that I was asking for something. And then I asked her, like, hey, Beatrice, would you be okay to keep me as a freelancer? And she was like, yeah, just send me your prices and we'll discuss this. I'm like, okay. And that was it. So that's how I ended up working with them while I was going back to school. Then I went to travel to Mexico because I did like exchange. I was still working with them. And when I came back to France and when I started the company, I went back and I was like, I'm starting a company. I'm hiring a team. Do you still want to work with me? And they were like, of course, of course. You're basically running like a lot of part of our business. So that's what happened. This brand was like our first brand, and then one person that was really important for us was Beatrice. So she was the head of e-commerce at the Googles. But then by the time I was back in France, she actually left the company because she had a child, and then after her maternal leave, she came back, but she went to another brand, a brand called Mage, really fancy and premium brand as well. And what does she do? Well, she calls me. She's like, Gabriel, I'm at Mage now. We have the same exact problem we had at the Couples. Could you come in and help us with that? So that's how we got our second client for the agency, you know. And this brand was part of a bigger group, the SMCP. They have brand like, they're French brands, so Sandro, Claudie Perrault, you know. We ended up working with all of them, and that was basically our starts in the fashion industry in Paris. And it's a small world. So if you do a lot of good work from a brand, when they get a call, and people ask them, "Hey, son, I just fired my agency. Do you know like someone that you can recommend?" Well, our name gets passed around. So I think for the first 5 years, we actually didn't even have a sales team. I mean, we still don't. It's just me and Antoine
Well, you
doing
don't
like
need
this.
one. You're
Yeah,
doing, I can hear it that you are passionate about what you're doing. You're not working, you're having fun. I mean, you
yeah,
are working, but, and because this is your realm, your gifting, this is what you were made to do. It's coming across and meeting people's needs and doing a great job. I totally love that.
yeah.
Um, that's everyone needs to find what they want, what they're gifted to do, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, there's a lot of, but yeah, I think if you find something that you're passionate about, well, first of all, it's going to help you be good at it because you're not going to count the hours that you have to train to be good because it takes a lot of effort, right, to be good. But if you like what you're doing, if you enjoy it, you can just do it, on the weekend, at night, if you want. And at some point, if you keep doing it, you will be good at it. And if by chance, because that's also like some kind of chance, if by chance this skill set is of value to the markets and people are willing to pay a good amount of money for that, then that could easily become a business, a job, a freelancer thing, but yeah, I do believe it starts with the passion. Passion, I think, allows you to become good at something, and then if you're good at something, people will want to hire you to do that thing for them or to help them do it for you. That's like the not the easiest path to businesses, but it's like the more organic for me.
Well, also, another key to that is if what you're passionate about and can do solves someone's problem,
Yeah,
they'll pay you whatever for
yeah,
you to, and that's why they were excited that you wanted to stick around or help out, because what you're solving all these problems, you're doing stuff we didn't even know we needed you to do, we didn't even ask you and you did it. So
yeah, yeah.
what makes you, my second question is, what makes you feel like you belong?
Um, well, I think again, the sense of belonging for me comes from the inside. It's about how you feel about a certain scenario, certain context. Um, so for me, when you talk about belonging, it's okay. Like, when do I decide that I belong, or where do I create the environment or the context where I feel like I'm belonging? Because being pragmatic, right? If you wait for external things to dictate whether or not you feel like you belong, I think it's a high risk of you never feeling like you belong, right? You need to kind of like take that into your own hands.
The first place of belonging has to be belonging to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then if you understand that, then you understand that you actually have a power, to this feeling that
Well,
you can control it.
when you walked into that first place to ask for the job, you knew that you belonged in your skill of computer abilities. And
Hmm.
that's what gave you the confidence. I mean,
Yeah,
sure, the what you looked around and saw might have been impressive, and am I in
yeah.
the wrong place? But I'm in the right place because I got the skills.
Yeah, no, exactly, right. I mean, it can be sometimes counterintuitive, right? But it's really about how you see it and how you frame the world, and yeah, and you can work on that, right? So yeah, for me, sense of belonging, it starts from the inside. It's you creating this environment when you feel like you belong. Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. So the third question, and I've never heard this quote. I'm excited about your quote because it's so good. It kind of came out of came out of left field for me. But you put as your favorite quote, and I know you have others likely as well, but this one, do you want to say it or do you want me to read it?
You can say it. Maybe you can say it better
Okay.
than me in my accent. Yeah.
Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. That just covers so many things. They didn't mean they didn't do that because they were mean. They're just stupid.
Yeah, right.
That's what you're saying. They're
Yeah,
not mean. They're just
yeah,
dumb.
yeah, yeah.
So expound on this. Tell me more about why this is your favorite quote or one of your favorite quotes.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my. I think it's actually my Instagram bio at the moment. So yeah, this is one of my favorites. It's not my quote, so I don't remember where I found it, but I didn't invent it. Um, but I like it for many reasons. I think one of the reasons is because have you read the book the four Toltec agreements?
I don't think so.
The four agreements. It's an interesting books, and well, it's about four agreements that if you have them and if you live your life by them, your life is supposed to be better, right? So I won't
Okay.
go over all of the fourth, um, but I think one is really interesting, is about that you should never. Okay, what is the word again? Sorry, because I read it in French, so I don't know how you say in English. um oh well, yeah, you should never take things personally, right?
Oh,
When things happen to you, when people do things to you, it's really easy to think like, oh, they are doing that because they're doing it to me, or because they are mean to me, or stuff like that. Because we feel affected, in a person, and our first reaction sometimes is to be on the defensive.
mhm.
Well, I mean, not in all cases, but in most cases, the people are just doing things because they're doing things. Sometimes you have nothing to do. So it's really not a good strategy to be always defensive and reactive, because I mean, people are just,
It's
sometimes,
their problem. It has
yeah,
nothing to do with you.
exactly, right? Somebody insults you, it's probably because they're having a bad day, or they are dealing with some internal issues. Like if somebody insults you, uh, don't take that as a judgment on yourself or like a self-reflection. It could be just them projecting onto you, all right?
Exactly.
um, that's one of the agreements. And if you extrapolate, I don't know if that's a real word in English, but if you extrapolate, if you expand this notion, sometimes people do things not because they are mean or they want you bad, or they're actually working against you. Sometimes they just don't realize, or they could be just too stupid to realize that they're doing something wrong or hurting you. So yeah, that's one of the way you can read these quotes. It's about sometimes people are just dumb, and they do dumb thing, and it doesn't always have to be mean. So yeah, that's that's the
I
first
love
meaning.
that. Just don't take it personally.
Yeah,
Don't write, as I say, don't write a story about it. Like
yeah,
somebody gives you an ugly look. Maybe they have indigestion and they happen to be looking your direction. Don't write a
yeah,
story about it.
yeah,
No, they're not mad at you because then you start racking your brain about what did I do to offend them. And I mean, if you did, ask them, did I offend you? And they go, what are
yeah.
you talking about?
Exactly. Yeah, ask them, right? Like, because it's one way to be certain, and then if they are really doing something about you, then you can react appropriately. But don't spend
Exactly.
time, um, you know, anticipating basically their ill intent towards you. It's not worth it, and it's gonna burn your energy, your mental state, and it's gonna make your life terrible and horrible, and it's not gonna allow you to focus on doing something productive with your life, which is bad.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
totally love it. Wow, the time has flown by. And before we close, do you have any final words, parting words to our listeners?
Not really right now. I mean, yeah, if you buy, I don't know. I feel like just, create the place and the context and the space that you feel like you belong to. Don't wait for the world to tell you you belong, because the world don't care and it might be stupid even. So you might as well do it yourself. Yeah.
Great advice. Well, to our amazing guest, thank you, Gabriel. I don't know how
Gabriel.
to say it.
Both works. Yeah. Yeah.
Works,
Yeah.
Kaam. And to our listeners, belongers, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember you belong. This is Dia Irby with Here Where You Belong podcast, signing off. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Hear Where You Belong. We hope today's episode has inspired you to embrace the beauty of belonging in your own life. Remember, no matter where you are or where you're headed, you have a place where you truly belong. Join us again next time for more insightful conversations and heartwarming stories. Until then, stay connected, stay true to yourself, and always remember that you belong.